Hello, everybody.
Hi, Carl. Abigail's joined us too. Hi, Abby.
Hi, Abby. Let's play around with this. Oh, hang on slightly.
Everyone okay?
Yes, thank you.
All good.
Hi, Richard.
Hey, Carl.
Who's here? Hi. Everyone. Oh, that's top right-hand corner. That's too hard a word.
that's Apple.
The Apple. Yeah, that's easier. Hi, Apple.
Hi.
Yeah, I was looking. You need to change your surname.
Tell me about it.
Yes.
I can get Yanovich at the end, but Kostyevianovich.
I think that's
Trianovich.
Kind of. Okay, yeah, I've no idea about the middle bit. That's what I was trying to work out.
Oh, that's my husband's Christian name is Kostek.
Kostek. Okay. Okay. So it's joined out. I think that's. I know Polish names can be long, but that was particularly long.
Yes. Value for money.
Is it just the 9 minute, or was it some on the next page?
No, I think there's only 9 at the moment.
I think
no, there's more.
I've got a few. Yes, we've got more than that. We've got
look
12
at
so
Gray.
far.
Ian Gray looks a bit different.
He does. I'm on his computer, obviously.
At least they've got Ian and Marilyn. Actually, changed it, so it's just not Ian this time. Okay.
Good morning, Ian.
Yeah.
Good morning, Eric. Morning, everyone. Morning.
Marilyn.
I think I've said good morning to everybody. Giselle's arriving as well.
Yeah.
She's a bit slow off the mark today.
Oh, there she is.
Karen.
Yeah.
Hi, Giselle.
Hi.
Hi, Dan. So, Jane, Ian.
Karen. Good morning, Karen. Welcome. Bienvenidos.
Hola.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
I don't know if you're on or not.
Some people have got mute on at the minute, if they want to talk.
I think we got on reasonably well without muting people. If you've got a noisy dog, or your husband or wife is apt to come crashing in and start the vacuuming or something, then maybe mute your mic. But otherwise, we were very well disciplined last week, and it went quite well, I think, without to be too harsh with the phones. Anyway, it's 10 o'clock. We might have a few more people joining us fairly soon, but we'll press on. I think we've got 14 screens up, and we've got a couple of doubles on there, Ian and Marilyn, Richard Meyer. So 16. That's quite. That's quite good. Did everybody manage all right last week? Did anybody have a look at the rather long video that I posted on YouTube?
Yeah, I had a look at it. It was quite good.
Yeah. Well, it's. I'm going to put them up, and they'll be there as a reference point. Last week I started recording very early, so you had 10 minutes at the very beginning of me just sitting there going. It wasn't the best TV, I have to admit, but hopefully it'll be a useful reference point for you. So I hope you've all been practicing your alphabet and your vowels and everything else. So we'll be looking at some of that as we go along. And I'm just going to kick off now by bringing PowerPoint into things now. What do I have to do? Share screen. Okay, this was going too well, wasn't it?
But it worked well last time. So.
Yeah. So what do I do? Participants. That's on it. Security. I think it's share screen.
You got to share content.
Yep,
Mode.
I've got it here now. It's all starting to come back to me. There we go. Okay, so with a little bit of luck, you should be able to see the PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, excellent. Now I've lost most of you. So if anybody wants to say anything, you can press a little button and put your hand up, and I should see that. And so if you've got any questions, stick your electronic hand up.
Where's the button?
It should be across the bottom of the screen, I think.
Oh yeah. Did that work?
All right. I can't see.
Yeah. Yes, Amanda's put her hand up. Yeah.
Where was it, Amanda?
Where is it?
At the bottom, it's on mine. It is. It says participants along the bottom row.
Oh, I've got to take on top
Yeah.
participants. Yeah.
If you touch
I see. Yes.
then it brings up a list, and then you've got a choice of raise hand in the bottom right hand corner.
So, I haven't. I've got invite, and I've got the.
Yeah, we're on iPad. I think it's different.
Yeah, iPad's
Oh,
different.
yeah.
There's no hand raising there. I can invite people, but I can write on Eric's screen.
Oh, well, you just have to wave your hand then.
If you're on an iPad,
Oh, Carl, I found it.
you can do little dots, and then it's on there. Little dots there.
You found it, Jane? Did you
Not
say?
participant, little dots.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we got it. So Giselle's used this before, so she just pointed out. So on iPad, it's the 3 little dots, and then you've got an option in the 3 little dots. At the top right-hand screen for the iPads, then you've got an option to raise hand.
Okay. Yeah. So if anybody can't find raise hand, just shout, "Hey!" and that'll work fine. That'll work. And in fact, your screen will definitely come up. So you've got 2 options: shout or raise your electronic hand. So last week was very much a kickstart in Spanish. We did a lot of alphabet work, but we didn't do many words. But this week we're going to do a little bit of a recap, and we're also going to do some more words. Start to build sentences. So I want to teach you the most useful word in the Spanish language, which is I. It's H-A-Y, but it's pronounced I. And it means there is or there are. No I means there isn't or there are not. It is the most useful word in the Spanish language. It's used for all kinds of things. If you want to tell, you've run out of something, no hay toallas in your bathroom, you can complain. You can say, hay una mosca en mi sopa. There's a fly in my soup. You can you sometimes see outside Spanish boarding houses, hay camas. There are beds, which means vacancies. So it's a really, really useful word. You can use it in lots and lots of ways. So this early stage of your Spanish career, I and no I. Really, really useful words. Do remember them. So I know everybody's been studying their alphabet this last week, and just wanted to underline the work we were doing about vowels, and in particular the letters C and G, because they change their sound depending upon the vowel that's following them. And I've put hopefully a useful little table in the notes screen there, which has got the vowels down one side. And the vowel sounds, of course, are, who's going to do that for me? Jane. What are the vowel sounds?
A, E, I, O, U.
A, E, I, O, U. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. And so C can be a hard K sound, almost like a K, or it can be a soft S sound. Now, C as a S might be sounded as a Th in certain parts of northern Spain, particularly around Madrid. So you can get words like cena for lunch or dinner instead of cena, which you get in the South and certainly across Latin America. So we talked about different accents last week, and you will come across them. Don't worry about them; it's fine. Just
Eric,
Spanish.
Eric, we don't have on the screen. All we've got is basic Spanish lesson 2. We don't have what you're talking about. There we go.
Oh, thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. Maybe you could just go beep when I need to change it. I'm getting carried away with all this technology.
His electronic house didn't work.
So let's have a look at C and G when it's followed by A. It's a hard C. It's a K sound. So an example is cava. And for G, it's a hard G sound. So gato for cat. Cava, gato. When C and G are followed by an E, the sound softens in both cases. So the E becomes, the C becomes a S. So cena or thena, as in dinner. And the G becomes a H sound. So gente, people. If it's followed by an E, it's also a soft sound. So sky is cielo, if you like. And ginebra is gin. Don't know why we chose that one. Ginebra. When C and G are followed by O, it's a hard sound. So comida and gota drop. And if it's followed by an U, it's again a hard sound. So culpa, gusano. Gusano is a worm. So let's have a go at these words. These words in Spanish. Now these have got strange sounds to them to the English ear. So let's crack on. Who wants to have a go at these? I've only got Apple, Jane, and Leslie on my screen at the moment. So I'm going to keep picking on you if the screen doesn't shuffle around. I can probably make it shuffle around a bit. I can do. But Apple, what's the first one there?
Mujer.
Mujer, yeah. Mu like a cow, mujer, que significa woman in inglés. And Amanda, the second one.
Hombre.
Hombre, yeah, absolutely. No H. We spend half our lives with our parents telling us to sound our H's, and you're going to have me constantly telling you not to sound your H's from now on. Richard, what about the third one? It's a huevos. It's a tricky one, huevos. So the H isn't there, huevos, but it's sort of there, isn't it? Huevos, que significa eggs. Huevos fritas is anybody?
Friday.
Fried egg, yeah. Huevos revueltos is
Scrambled.
scrambled egg, yeah. They like something called huevos rancheros in Mexico. Never had them myself. Maya, what about the next one down? Cheese. Queso, yeah, it's a K sound. Don't forget QU equals K in Spanish. You don't sound the U at all. It makes the Q a K. Queso. Amanda, car is,
Coche.
yeah. It's not a sh. It's a ch sound. Coche. Coche. Yeah, absolutely. Attractive. Carl, what's attractive?
Guapo.
Guapo. Yeah, guapo. If it's a woman, what would it be?
Guapa.
Guapa. It's changes. Diane, I find this one really hard to say. What's police in Spanish?
Guardia. Or is it G?
Well, when you've got GU together, the U hardens the G unless it's followed by an A, and then you sound the U. It becomes Guardia. Yeah, they're the police. They are. Okay. Well, we've got some place names now. Some tricky place names. Leslie? What's the first one there? How would you say that?
Zamora.
There's no Z in Spanish. It's a sound. So it's Zamora. 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 It's really, I found it quite easy to drop my H's, but I found it quite hard to drop my Z's. What about the next one, Abigail? That's a great word, isn't it?
Oh, I was just going to say Gihon.
It's he hon. He hon. No G. He hon. He hon. He hon. There's an accent on the O, so the stress has to go on there. He hon.
He hon.
Yeah. Caroline Gray, what about the next one? Tenerife, yeah. Favorite holiday destination. Marilyn, what's the next?
Jerez.
Jerez, yeah, Jerez. Jerez, if you're in certain parts of Spain, Jerez. And Ian?
Almeria.
Almeria. Almeria. Don't forget, when there's an accent, the stress goes on that letter. Almeria. Giselle, what have we got next?
Cadiz.
Yeah, Cadiz. Yeah. Who's next on my list? I've got Karen. Karen.
Escocia.
Well, it's got the two sounds of the C in there, hasn't it? C followed by O is a hard K, and when it's followed by an I, it's a S sound. So it's Escocia, Escocia, which is Scotland. Scotland. Yeah. Caroline, I know you're good at rolling your arm.
Inglaterra.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, Inglaterra. And the last one, Karen, can you do that one as well?
Gales.
Gales, which is what the Spanish call the Welsh. Okay, so we've got lots of words that we know in Spanish. I think everybody knew these before they started this course. We've all been to Spain. We all know gracias, thank you, adios, goodbye. Salsa is sauce. Sangria is a nice drink on a sunny day, from sangre, which is blood. What about the next word, Carl? How would you say that?
Paella.
Paella. Or if you're in Latin America, paella.
Yeah.
It's a hard word to say. Tapas. Playa is a beach. We all know that. We've all been there. And por favor, please. We mustn't forget our manners, must we? There are others. Ole means bravo, or it's a general a cheer of approval. Vino, we need that one quite often. Vino tinto is red wine. Vino blanco is white wine. And I don't drink rosé myself, but vino rosado, I believe. Rosado. Cerveza is beer. Amigo is friend, or amiga if it's a lady friend. Who's your friend? If we watched Speedy Gonzales cartoons when we were little, we'd have andale, which means sort of let's go, let's get going, and it comes from the verb andar, to walk. Speedy Gonzales always used to say arriba, which means up or above, and I think in the sense of Speedy Gonzales, it was get up, get moving. But they're Spanish words that we probably all know, but there are lots of words that we've stolen from Spanish, and in some cases the Spanish stole from South American languages, Inca or Aztec. The first one is very familiar to us, but it isn't chocolate in Spanish. It is, Jane, what would it be in Spanish?
Chocolate.
Yeah, absolutely, chocolate. Patata is potato. How about the next one, Leslie? How would you say that?
Maize.
It's maíz, maíz, maíz. The stress on the E sound. And of course, chili for chili pepper, as well as the country. Now, there are lots and lots of words in Spanish which are exactly the same as they are in English, although they're pronounced differently in many cases. We call these perfect cognates. And I've said, can you guess these? It's not hard, is it? Sofá, disco, general, local, taxi, actor, radio, hospital, motor, cartón, final, solo, patio. The sound's different. We just have to remember the Spanish alphabet and how we sound those words, because they mean the same as they are in English. It's great if you see it spelt, but if a Spaniard says en general to you, you don't expect it to mean generally. It sounds quite different. You just need to tune that ear in. There are lots and lots of words as well that aren't exactly the same. They have small differences in spelling, but they have the same meaning in English and in Spanish. So words that end in T-I-O-N in English generally mean exactly the same in Spanish, but instead of T-I-O-N, it's C-I-O-N. And there's an accent on the O, so it's stressed at the end. Consideración, institución. You generally be able to guess them. And if you know the rule, if you don't know the Spanish word, you can work out the Spanish word. English words that end in ENCE, such as difference, are the same in Spanish, but instead of ENCE at the ending, it's encia at the end. So difference becomes diferencia. English words that end in ANT, such as important, are also the same, but have ansia. So instead of important, we have importancia. Words that end in ali change to an amente ending. So sentimentally becomes sentimentalmente. It's quite a mouthful. Visually, visualmente. Actually, actualmente. So that's brilliant. There's so many words in Spanish that we know or we can work out, and certainly if we're reading rather than listening, we can have a really good guess at what the word means. So they're cognates and close cognates. There are a few words that break the rules. So translation isn't translación, it's traducción. So it's fairly close. Station isn't station, it's estación. So there's a few that sort of break away and don't follow the nice rule. You don't want it to be too easy to learn Spanish, do you? So those are the rule breakers. And there are also false friends. A few words that sound as if they're English, but they mean something completely different in Spanish. So the word we normally see is embarazada, which you can think, oh, that means embarrassed. Of course, it doesn't. It means pregnant. Abigail, you had a question?
Can we go back to important? I just seem to think back to watching Chisca or whatever her name was, and when she was saying para mí es importante.
Yeah, sorry. Important, ANT is, you're quite right. It becomes ante. So importante is what that is. Importance, ANC, becomes ansia. So I'm sorry, I got that wrong. ANT is ante. Thank you, Abigail. That's a deliberate mistake for this week. The first deliberate mistake for this week. So there we go. I'll change that in the notes. So last week we spent a lot of time trying to learn the letters and how the letters sound and how they should sound, and we'll come back to this again. And last week we also learned a few greetings and farewell. So we learned how to say hello and goodbye, and sort of got us going on a Spanish conversation. Hello and goodbye, of course, isn't a very long conversation. So what else can we say? In English, we'd if I walk to the shops, I meet somebody, I normally say, good morning, nice day, isn't it? And it's a sort of English thing to discuss the weather. But in Spanish, and in most countries, they're not as obsessed with the weather as we are in England. So how are you is a good greeting, a good way to start. And to ask somebody how they are, we need to use the verb estar, which means to be. To be a star is one way to remember it, estar. And we also come to one of those things that we English find quite problematic, because, as we said last week, we have the formal address and the informal address in Spanish. And a star changes, it conjugates differently depending upon whether you're using the formal or informal. Those of you that have done other languages, such as French, will be familiar with this, but I'll assume that you're not. So we'll chug along, ploughing through it. In English, the second person singular and the second person plural is you. It's simply how are you? If you meet two people, you say how are you? It's exactly the same. And whether it's a formal or an informal situation, it's still you. But in Spanish, we've got the formal you singular, the informal you singular, the formal you plural, and the informal you plural. And they are usted is the formal version of you. Tú is the informal. Ustedes, plural, formal, and vosotros is the plural, informal version of you. So you've got 4 things to remember instead of 1. Now, that sounds a real nuisance, and yeah, it is. But that's how it is right through the language, and we're going to be facing this issue for the next however long you're learning Spanish. So there's no good moaning about it. You've just got to get on with it. So I said last week that we'll stick to the informal mode most of the time, unless you're speaking to somebody in authority, a priest, a policeman, a judge, soldier, maybe a shopkeeper, where you want a formal arrangement, or your boss, unless your boss is, the same age and a good friend, then you would probably use the formal address. But for family members, friends, colleagues, people younger than yourselves, which, I think we're all above a certain age, so most people are younger than us, we can get away with using the informal mode of speech most of the time, and I don't use the formal mode hardly at all. I can't think when I've used it in a situation unless I've just gone into a shop and I've wished them good day and asked them how they are. So let's take a look at the 2 uses. It's very subtle difference. So good day, how are you, in the formal is buenos dias, ¿cómo está? If it's informal, buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? It's just at the end, almost unheard in it to an English ear, imperceptible to an English ear. Spanish ears are a bit weird. They're really sensitive to odd little things, and the end of the word, the Spanish really concentrate on the end of the word. So they do get that's really important to hit the ending, and the Spanish would hear it. So both of those mean good day, how are you? Also note that in Spanish, when a question is written down, there are two question marks. There's one at the beginning and one at the end. And the one at the beginning is upside down. So a Spanish question written down would always have the two question marks inverted at the front and just like an English one at the end. The reason for that is very often that a Spaniard will phrase a question in a different sort of way to how we do it in English. In English, we have sort of key words that will indicate to us that it's a question. Some of these exist in Spanish, like how or what or who, but in Spanish there are lots of questions that are posed without those. So you make the listener understand that it's a question by raising your voice a little. The inflection rises towards the end of the sentence. So are you coming to the shops is what we'd say in English, but the Spanish would say you come to the shops. Vas a las tiendas. You come to the shops, but they would raise the a bit like an Australian would always raise the voice a bit at the end of the sentence. That's what they do in Spanish if it's a question. Now, for this reason, when it's written down and you don't get that inflection, you need to be sure that it's a question at the beginning of the question. So that's why they do that. We'll do more on questions later, but just be aware of it. So you may get buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? You might get, as we talked about last week, hola, ¿qué tal? Hola, tal tu día? How's your day? Or in the first instance, how's it going? How should you respond? Depends very much on how you're feeling, of course. If you're feeling sort of all right, you can say regular or más o menos. It's más o menos is the equivalent in French of comme ci, comme ça, or in English, not bad, okay. Often you'd say, oh, I'm good, thanks, even if you got a bit of a headache, wouldn't you? But that's just, you know, I don't know. You can tell them how you are, even if you're not feeling quite like that. So here's a few that you can do. So I'm well, thank you. Buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? Estoy bien, gracias. I'm well, thank you. If you want to sound a little bit more upbeat, estoy muy bien. You can also take the estoy, the I am bit off there and just say bien, gracias, or muy bien, just like we would in English. How are you? I'm good, thanks. But you could just say good, thanks. It's the same in Spanish. It's a little bit shorthand, and you judge the mood, whether you want to have the whole thing, whole sentence there, I am well, or just well, thanks. Then it doesn't really matter. You'd be perfectly well understood. There are no rules about always saying estoy. If you're feeling really good, estupendo, estoy estupendo. You're not very well, estoy mal, not well. If you're feeling terrible, you can say estoy fatal. a good groan at the end of that is essential to make the sentence work. So don't forget, you don't have to say estoy. You can drop it. Just use the adverb. And you might also want to say and you. So y tú, or if it's a formal situation, y usted, and you. And there's a good phrase. También means also or as well, and I heard it so often in when I was last in South America. I was there sort of thinking of the words I needed, and I hadn't got también down at all in my head, but they use it so often. It's almost in every sentence in a informal chatty conversation. Me too, me as well. Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's a mí también means me too. Tú también means you too. So you could say estoy bien, tú también. I'm well, and you're well would be the English equivalent. And if you ask somebody how they were and they said estoy bien, you could say mí también. I mean, yeah, I'm good as well, thanks. You didn't ask, but I'm all right. It's a useful little phrase. So I think we should just give that a little practice with a short conversation. So let me. I'm walking along the street, and there's Richard Burgess, my old mate Richard Burgess, and I say, "Buenos días, Richard. ¿Cómo estás?"
Estoy bien, gracias.
Yeah, he didn't ask me how I was, did he? He doesn't care.
He's not that good a friend.
I might say, muy bien, a mí también. Yeah, I am as well. Thanks for asking. Yeah, Maya will be more polite, won't she? Buenos días, Maya. ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Bien, gracias. So that's a nice short, thing you can do with the waiter in the hotel, the shopkeeper that you get to know, the guy on the beach that you see every day. It's just a nice little exchange that we can have in Spanish. Really, really easy, really straightforward. Leslie, we're walking along the street. You spot your old friend Eric Rayner there. How are you going to greet me?
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Bien, gracias. ¿Y tú?
Sí.
Sí, yes. Now, come on.
No, I realized you said me too. I was thinking, yeah, sorry.
Me también. Yeah, you could say, yeah, I'm good as well. Or you could just say, estoy bien. That's absolutely fine. So, Carl, we're walking along the street. You spot me before I spot you, because I would definitely be waving at you. I wouldn't ignore you. But you spot me first. What are we going to say?
Hello, ¿qué tal?
Oh, estoy fatal.
Oh dear.
Oh. I was going to say in German, but I couldn't think of I'm sorry to hear that. I was going to say.
Yeah, you might say sorry. We'll be doing sorry soon. Say it. We've done that first. Lo siento.
Yeah.
Estoy estupendo. Have a play around with these. Ask your chosen you've all got a chosen Spanish friend now, haven't you? It's either your partner or your dog or your cat or cats, in the case of Amanda. Jabber away to them in Spanish, have a little conversation. Just practice those different combinations, and you soon have the confidence to just have that little short exchange in Spanish. And it does throw you sometimes when somebody says something back to you and you weren't quite ready for it, was a different answer than the one you expected, or you get asked a question back and you're not quite sure what to say. It just throws you. If you practice, you soon get used to it. And those of us with Spanish-speaking relatives, we're really lucky. We can hopefully practice on them. So please and thank you. Now I've heard it said quite often that we British have a reputation of being very polite, perhaps even over polite when we go to Spain, and we say por favor all the time. I don't think the British are particularly polite. If you've ever been to Tesco at Hampton, definitely not very polite there. You get trolleys, get barged out of the way and nobody says sorry. But there's nothing wrong with saying please. It's absolutely fine. And the Spanish would consider you rude if you didn't say por favor. The Spanish don't always say it, but that doesn't mean they're being rude. It just means that they've got other slightly more subtle ways of showing politeness. And this might be in the tone of the voice that they use. It's subtle. It's too subtle for us to learn it and imitate it immediately. You need to spend some time in Spain or a Spanish-speaking country and just pick up on the signals that they're giving that says, I'm being polite here. One of the classics is to use a diminutive. So you put ita on the end of the word, which means little. So I might say la cuenta por favor to the waiter, the bill please. Somebody might on the next table might say la cuentita, which just means the little bill, but because he's made it ita, it's a sign of politeness. It's a nicety, it doesn't. It's not immediately obvious to us. For us, in Spain or in a Spanish-speaking country, I would always say please and thank you. It's good manners, and until you can pick up on the other subtle ways of using the language, stick to the please and thank you. So please is por favor, thank you is gracias. Thank you very much, muchas gracias. You might want to say, oh, how kind, muy amable, gracias. I'm very grateful, muy agradecido, for a man. So I would say that. I'm very grateful. If you're a woman, muy agradecida. It's a different ending. Now, my daughter-in-law, Lucy, understood that, but she said, crikey, that's really old-fashioned. I'd never say that. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've heard it. So it could be something that's dropped out of young people's vocabulary, but we old folk can still get away with it. I don't know. Muy amable is a nice one. Muy amable, gracias. In Latin America and Ecuador, they have a phrase, Dios te pagara, God will pay you. It's a way of saying thank you, and you'll be rewarded in the afterlife for your goodness. It might mean that God will pay you, but I won't, which was a joke in Lucia's family. Most of her family work in the medical profession. Her dad and her mum were both doctors, and they'd worked in the indigenous communities. And of course, there's no national health service in Ecuador. You have to pay. A lot of them can't pay. So Dios te pagará was a common phrase that thanks, doctor, but you're not going to get paid. God will pay you. So it was a little bit of a joke. You may hear it in Latin America. I've never heard it in Spain. Anybody heard it in Spain?
No.
No. So there we go. I kind of thought it was a local thing. So often, if you say gracias, the waiter will say de nada. It's a typical response, and it's the equivalent of "you're welcome." If you try and translate it, like many of these little colloquial phrases, it doesn't mean anything when it's translated. It doesn't make any sense at all. De nada means literally of nothing, but it means you're welcome. You could say it's nothing, maybe. No hay de que, don't mention it. No hay, of course, means there isn't. There isn't of that. It doesn't make sense, but don't mention it. So if somebody says thank you, if you've done something nice for them, they say gracias, it's polite to say de nada. Not absolutely essential. No hay de que is another one that you can use. So we come to another very British thing, an essential lesson for the British, except those in Tesco at Hampton, who never apologise when they come to you with their trolleys. Does anybody shop at Tesco at Hampton?
No.
Oh,
Who shops at Tesco at Hampton?
I do.
Who's that?
Giselle.
Giselle. Oh.
Yeah.
So are you one of those people who bash me with a trolley if I go in there?
No, I'd never do that.
Do you find them rude? No?
Not
I don't know. It's a lot better at Waitrose, I can tell you. So apologies is another essential lesson for we Brits. And there's a number of ways of saying sorry. Lo siento is one of the most common ways. Lo siento is from the verb sentar, to feel. So when you say lo siento, you're literally saying, I feel it. It's one of those phrases that sort of you understand where it's come from, but you never say I feel it. I'm sorry, but lo siento is how to say sorry in Spanish. Disculpe is also one. Perdón is another way of saying pardon. Excuse me. They can all be used to say sorry of one kind or another. So I don't know. A sneeze or a belch, or worse, might warrant perdón. If you tread on somebody's foot, lo siento. If you misunderstood, you might say disculpe. If there's a queue and you're in a hurry to get past, con permiso is the one that I would use, which literally means with permission, but it means excuse me, you're in the way. Puedo pasar, I can pass, but here's means I can pass. Puedo, I can, pasar, pass. But here's an example of one of those Spanish questions that is phrased as a statement. I can pass, but puedo pasar? You need to just lift the end of the phrase a little bit to make sure it's a question. Puedo pasar is used so often that they know what you want. I want to get by. You're in my way. But it might be, you could say, puedo pasar, por favor. Or you could just say, puedo pasar, and give them a push, which is what they do. I find the Spanish quite a polite race, quite nice, you know, more than the French. I don't think the French are particularly rude, but if you're a bit slow, when you get to the bottom of the ski lift, there'll be 3 or 4 Frenchmen whizzing in front of you while you're doing the duck paddle up to the lift. They won't take any prisoners, will they, Carl?
That's every ski resort, Eric.
You don't have that problem, do you? You whiz through.
Oh yeah, I'm the one pushing him because you took too long.
And the Germans are even worse than the French. And
yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the worst of all are the Austrians or the Swiss.
And the English trained by me. They do well as well.
Trained by you. Sharp elbows. Yeah. When we went for a holiday in Switzerland, when my wife was about 6 months pregnant, they didn't care. They shove her out of the way with the best of them. Yeah.
Yep.
There we go. So there's a few words and phrases that we can use to extend our conversation, and that's we should now be starting to build up a little. You could have a conversation with somebody in Spanish that you didn't know. You could meet somebody in the street that one of the neighbors in the next villa from the shop, and you could wish them good morning, buenas tardes, good afternoon, buenas noches, good evening. You could ask them how they are. You could tell them how you are, and you can say please and thank you and excuse me or get out of my way. We're starting to build up a little bit of a conversation. So I've given you the Spanish notes. Included in the pack is a little bit of homework. So there's some videos there listed. Great to watch some videos. James and Mai, I really like those two. They're Spanish and Go. They're talking about greetings. There's a weird Mexican one, "Que onda?" I've never heard of that except there. And there's some videos from this chap who calls himself the Spanish Dude. And there's 2 there. I think they're quite good, but crikey, he doesn't have to talk fast. He rabbits through them. It's almost like frightening, the speed that he goes at. But it is quite good stuff. So if you can tolerate his 19 to the dozen speech, then that's fine. I've also put in an old friend there, Maria, who's Colombian, and she does a YouTube channel called Why Not Spanish, and she's also got some greetings there. You notice, I think in Maria's video, you will notice that she says, don't use adios unless you're breaking up with somebody or ending a relationship. You're never going to see them again. I think that's a Colombian thing. I think the Spanish will use adios as, a semi-formal bye. In Colombia and Latin America, I've never heard adios. It's always ciao. So it's just a local thing. I've also put in there a list of cognates. Now that's a long list, a huge list. So you don't need to learn them. When you come across them, you'll know what they are. But it's just, I'm just trying to make you feel better, actually. That's how many dozens and dozens of words there are in Spanish that are exactly the same in English, and that is great. There's also a sheet which has got numbers, days of the week, months of the year, the seasons, and then lots and lots of little nouns there to start to learn. We need to start building up our vocabulary. It's a long list. Don't worry about, oh God, I'm never going to remember all of those. If you do it a few times, do it over a couple of weeks, and do it with somebody else if you can, and get them to test you, and it will drop into your mind, into your brain, and it starts to make sense, and you start to remember it. So let's just have a quick look at some points in there. The numbers, numbers 0 to 10, uno, well, I've put 0 in there, which is cero. 1 can be uno or una. It's gender dependent. Uno is the most common one, and if you're just counting, you just say uno. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, diez. 1 to 10. That's the start. We'll be going much higher very soon. The days of the week, well worth learning. The interesting thing about the days of the week in Spanish is they don't put a capital letter when it's the day of the week. And there's also, we would say, see you on Tuesday. The Spanish would say, see you the Tuesday. So they don't use on, N. They would say el. So see you Tuesday. Nos vemos el martes. I'm going to the cinema on Saturday. Voy al cine el sábado. And I go to the cinema every Saturday. Would be voy al cine todos los sábados, all the Saturdays. So they use the rather than on. The months of the year, a lot of them conveniently sound a little like the English months. So febrero, marzo, abril, mayo, junio, julio, agosto, they all sound a little bit the same. So they're pretty easy to use once you get past enero, January. And when you get to septiembre, octubre, noviembre, diciembre, you can sort of remember what they are quite easily. They don't have a capital letter. Winter, spring, summer and autumn doesn't have capitals either. Just to confuse everybody, I've put capital W for winter and a capital S for spring, but small s for summer. I've no idea why I've done that. They don't need capitals in English either, of course. El invierno, la primavera, but it's el verano and el otoño. So all of the months, all of the days of the week, and all of the seasons are masculine, except spring, which is feminine. La primavera. Then we have over the page, I've given you a list of days, tomorrow, yesterday, last night, that kind of thing. So today is hoy. Hoy es martes. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow, mañana. Mañana es miércoles. Morning is also mañana, and tomorrow morning is mañana por la mañana. morning of tomorrow, if you like. Tomorrow afternoon is mañana por la tarde. Tomorrow in the afternoon of the afternoon. So take a look through those. Do your best to remember as many as you can. Don't worry about, thinking, oh God, I couldn't remember that one. I keep forgetting that one. You will remember them slowly but surely. So we've, it's 11:02. I've done quite well.
Perfect.
Almost perfect, yes. Are there any questions? Anybody got any questions about today's lesson? About anything in particular?
I'm sorry, when we were talking about it, obviously I was going to try and say, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, you haven't given that as a phrase. How would you'd actually use that if we had that meeting?
Yeah, you'd say, lo siento, I'm sorry to hear, oye, now I'd have to get the conjugation of that. I'll put that down in the notes for you.
Yeah.
It's not. I've never used it myself, so
no. Because somebody could come up if you're having a meeting and someone does say, "Oh, my back, my head."
Yeah. You could say. I think if somebody said to me "estoy fatal," I'd probably say, "Oh, lo siento, qué pena," oh, I'm sorry, what a pain. Would be the thing. Qué pena is a useful maybe quite appropriate if you've got a bad back. It doesn't mean it means what a pain if you do a literal translation, but it qué pena means oh, that's a bit rough. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I'll be we have been recording. I'll put this video up on YouTube probably this evening, and so if you want to go through it again and look at any point, then you'll be able to do that. But thank you very much. I'll see you all next week. Lots of homework for you to do. That's great. Okay.
Did you see the vulture that visited you in Thorney?